All right, everybody, my name is Matthew Connerton, and I'm here to talk to you about COD, the Conference Organizing Distribution. But right away, no, it's cool. No, come on, it's cool. It's not like I just got started or anything. It's fine. Take a seat, we'll wait.
Yeah, actually, you know
what? So the name of my session on the website was How to Create Events and Conference Websites. And this slide title says Conference Organizing Distribution. This is the distro we're going to use to make the websites, but it's not just limited to Drupal camps or conferences. You can make any type of event website you want. MongoDB uses it to put on a lot of their events. You know, you could put on a Britney Spears concert with this distribution. The event type doesn't matter. This is just the name of the distribution. So as I said, I am Matthew Connerton. I own a small company in Asheville, North Carolina called Aspiring Web, and we make websites. I was waiting on her, but yeah, I'll take it. Cool. Great. That's my Twitter handle if you want to talk about how awesome my beard is on Twitter. So why do we want to use COD? And there's some pretty simple reasons. One is it's feature-rich and it's community-driven. This isn't just one-man show. This isn't some paid event plugin in WordPress that 3 people are working on. There's a lot of momentum right now going on with COD that we'll talk about in a bit. The whole point of COD is that these conferences or these events require a whole bunch of different features to run successfully for scheduling, sessions, ticketing, e-commerce, sponsor management. And the goal of our distribution is to get you 85% of the way there. That's kind of the goal for every major distribution out there. Let us get you 80% of the way there so you don't need to start from scratch. So COD does that for us. And COD has a ton of features. And what we're going to do today is go through all these features. And maybe if we have time, we'll look at a few demos at the end. They're all in video format. Worst case, we'll get this online, and you guys will be able to watch the videos later online. So the first main feature of COD is registration. And registration is using the ticket module, and the ticket module is a fork of the entity registration module. Now, the whole goal of COD and ticketing is to be more like Eventbrite, because a lot of people weren't using COD for a while because it was hard or it was this, and Eventbrite was easy, and they just did that. But Eventbrite takes your money, and we don't want to do that. So ticketing in COD, Drupal 7, works a lot like Eventbrite. So we can have multiple ticket types per event. That means you can have the lower level seats in the orchestra. Then you have your upper level seats that are cheaper. And then you have the nosebleed seats that are even cheaper. Or maybe it's for an event like this where you have free attendance for anybody. Well, this event wasn't free, but a Drupal camp that might have free attendance. And then maybe a premium $25 attendance where they give you lunch. And a $50 attendance where you get lunch and a t-shirt. So each event can have multiple types. Each ticket, each registering person can have multiple tickets if they want to. So I'm coming to this camp, I'm going to have my registration ticket, and I'm going to have my ticket to this training, and I have a ticket to the after party, because I had to pay for each one of those, or I had to RSVP to each one of those. So COD supports multiple tickets for a single registrant. And the ticket types support different prices, availability, and registration information. So the after party is a big Tex-Mex cookout, and one of the questions we need to know is, what are you bringing? So that ticket has a field where you can type in, I'm bringing the guacamole. But the camp registration, you get name badges. So those we need are your first name, your last name, your organization. Maybe you need to get a t-shirt size if they fill out the premium ticket that includes a t-shirt. So each ticket type for those developers, it's an entity type. You can put as many or different types of fields on them as possible. And they can have different prices, and they can have their own availability. Ticket registration includes Drupal commerce integration, so we can sell stuff. And we can even have paid and free events on one page. And that was my example, a free ticket or a premium ticket on the same page. If I'm creating a ticket, maybe I'm registering my team for this conference, I signed up for the website, and I'm now going to put in tickets for 5 people. It'll automatically create accounts on the website for those 5 other people or 4 other people that you create the tickets for. We also have reporting that is doable with views, and it's easily customizable. So if you know how to use views, you can edit our existing reports, or you can create your own reports by filtering on the right field. So here's some of the ticket forms. This is DrupalCamp Antarctica, and they have a first ticket and a second ticket. This is what the field looks like, form looks like. Very simple. When you put in, I want 2 of these, 1 of these, you come to this form where I'm the person registering for the ticket. So if I already have an account, I sign in, I put in my information, and then we have the details for each ticket after that. Ticket 1, who's this for? Ticket 2, who's this for? This is very, very similar and based off of Eventbrite. So here we have the DrupalCamp Asheville, which is in August, registration form. We have our early bird camp registration, which was $15. And then we had our individual sponsorship registration, where people could just pay us more money for the same thing because they're cool, $50. Now, with the availability, we set this ticket to be available from like January 1st, 2014 until July 15th. 2014. And then on July 15th, another ticket that was attached to this became available and ended its availability on the day after the camp. So that's how availability kicks in. And then again, here's the themed version of I'm the person registering, and below was the first ticket. So this is the Nerd Camp, which is New England something Drupal Camp, New England Regional Drupal Camp. And here they have a free attendance ticket, and then they have their Attendee Plus ticket, which comes with you get a badge. There you go, huh? A goodie bag, meal ticket, and then they have the contributor, which includes all of that, plus the t-shirt. So you can really build out the different types of tickets. Now, again, all my examples are conferences, but this directly applies to other types of events. If this is a concert, these are the different sections you could possibly have. That's it. All right, so commerce support using the commerce module. We're not using none of that UberCart junk. So in Drupal 7, yeah, I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm kidding. Drupal 7, we're using commerce. UberCart could easily be placed in there with the way we're doing it. You guys big UberCart people here?
We've got a few of them out there, yeah.
It just wouldn't, let's be intuitive as commerce.
We're not going to go there. If you want to add UberCart support to card, you can talk to us later. It's not that hard. Those of us working on this project just like commerce. So,
Drupal support doesn't handle some of the payment gateways.
Drupal commerce?
Yeah. That's why UberCart.
It handles Stripe.com, the only payment gateway that matters.
Authorize.net too.
I'm just kidding. Do you have a question?
Actually, something on that, like for an event like this, theoretically, the organization that's organizing it needs to be PCI compliant, and it's really, really hard to be compliant using anything other than Stripe. Like an Authorize.net integration is not compliant. So
So what? That's a great point. Interesting.
So yeah,
like a university.
Is that, what was that?
So like the university requires it.
No, it's the credit card companies.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you're doing a Drupal camp or you're doing a paid event, the odds are pretty good you should be compliant, and as a result, I would use Stripe.
That's a conversation for a BOF, but that's interesting. For those interested, Drupal Camp Asheville, we use Commerce and Stripe. UberCart and XYZ payment gateway could be placed in there with not a whole lot of effort. Anyway, paid events with multiple registration types. You can have paid sessions, pay to go to the session. That's kind of cool. I thought it was cool. Paid sponsors. But at the end of the day, it's just commerce. So anything you can do in commerce, you can do on your card website. We have support for buying this event. That's all card actually cares about. Can you buy this event or sponsor or session, what we provide? I have a lot of people asking me questions like, well, how do I upsell this t-shirt? Use the Commerce Upsell module. You know, how do I want these attributes or properties on this product over here. That has nothing to do with COD. So anything that's not selling events, sessions, and sponsors, it's just Drupal Commerce. So go check out drupalcommerce.org, check out their modules, and then the project page /commerce. Yes?
Will it keep track of managing like the maximum number of people per room? Like, say if this room held 40 and another room held 30, and then you could not get a limit the number of tickets sold to the room and give a list?
I have never personally done that. I know the information architecture is heading in that direction, which we'll see later. When we build a room, we have a place to put in the capacity. Now, I don't know if like Jacob Perry and them, who are the people driving this module, this distribution, if they've done that before, but theoretically, you're talking about using rules in some sort of flag system to say, I'm either purchasing a ticket to this session or I'm flagging this session to say I'm attending this session, and that you just have rules bounce off that number, and at so many counts, one person, you can't go anymore because these people have already signed up. So that's more complicated than what COD handles. That's that last 15%, but it's certainly possible using commerce and rules and stuff like that.
Can the COD system be like adapted for, like, say, a touring band where they're selling tickets in a different city every night?
Yes.
Cool. And they sell
Thank you.
merchandise.
Yes. So the cool thing about COD is originally in Drupal 6 and then its first port in the 7, one website to an event. You know, you get one event, one website. When you wanted to do a next event, you had to create a brand new website. We wanted to get away from that. I know as a camp organizer, I don't want to create a new Drupal camp website every single year. And so COD, I don't say this anywhere in my slides. COD supports multiple events out of the box. So you can have as many events as you want, and everything that we're talking about is under the umbrella of one event, and the next event you do can have different sponsors, different sessions, different session tracks, all that jazz. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit.
One more question, an idea. Is there a way to, whenever you do create events and stuff and publish them, where it can automatically notify all the other types of companies out there, like Artist Data, Bands in Town, Songkick, which then goes to the entire ecosystem of ticketing?
That would be outside the scope of COD, but that's certainly doable with, you know, things like the
maybe an
rules
idea
module.
for a module for somebody to develop.
That would.
Commerce is based on the rules module, so technically when somebody purchases something, you can make your website.
Well, you're saying when a new event is created and the base details there, at some point you want that to go out and notify everybody. So there would be I would say that's a rules module thing. You'd put the data that you're going out to notify on your event content type, and then maybe have a checkbox or a flag or something that says, I'm ready, go do it. And using the rules module, it would go do its thing. So, session submission. It's a customizable content type called the session content type. It defaults with slides, a hero image, which I've never actually used, and multiple speakers. It also has easy, hard, what's that called? Difficulty, sure. That field on it, as well as tracks. Oh, experience level, it's right there. I should look at the slides. Has experience level and session tracks. Now, the session tracks is a taxonomy term, and that tracks is tied to this event. So each event can have different types of session tracks. Boop. Tracks per event. And there's a flag built in for speaker confirmation. So when you send the emails out saying, hey, you've been approved, using the flag module, there's a flag that you tell your people, confirm that you can come actually speak, and they just come in and flag it when they're logged in. Yep, I can speak at this event. And there's a table view that can show that kind of thing. So session submission is pretty straightforward. If you need to modify this, you can. It's just a content type. Add your fields to it as you need to. I had one nonprofit that needed a pretty advanced moderation workflow where the sessions weren't visible to anybody after they were submitted. It was all private submission, all anonymous. We used the Workbench moderation module to set up rules. So when it was submitted, the moderation team got emails and they could review it. They called them abstracts, educational. And so they would review it and say, no, can you kind of expand on this over here? And we don't really care about that. And they'd send it back to review for needs work. Then it'd go to review. And then it would ultimately be approved. And once all the sessions were approved, we had the voting mechanism, which we'll see later, where then the session people could vote on all those sessions that were approved for submission. And once they voted on them and 5-starred them, that's when they actually made their session selections and schedule and pushed it all live. So out of the box, you can create sessions and they're public and people can approve them and that's it. But if you need more advanced workflows, that is certainly available, again, outside of COD. So once people have submitted their sessions, we have our session administration screens, our system. Now there's 3 types of sessions. We have birds of a feather, or table talks is what I think they call them here. We organize them ourselves and we schedule them ourselves. We have the sessions themselves, which are the presentations or the abstracts that are moderated. And then we also have schedule items, which is stuff like registration, lunch, the after party, anything that's not a BOF or a session that still needs to go on the schedule. So we have this session dashboard that we can use to manage all the schedule items and all the sessions. It shows these quick tabs here of what's been on process, accepted, declined, if we want to feature a particular session on the home page, and sessions that have been scheduled. We have pending unpublished schedules sessions up here, our tracks, and our schedule items. This is a view of actually this camp's session dashboard, which is using COD Beta 1. But here is a nice dashboard. You can quickly add schedule items, sessions, and tracks straight from here. It's a nice way to just manage what's going on. And then in the top right-hand corner next to the dashboard, we have session table, which is just a nice table view where you can quickly filter and search for sessions, the keywords, their status, the experience level, edit links, if there's been votes on them, and if anyone's flagged them as attending. So just a nice admin view that you can come in and tweak if you add some different fields to. There's 2 basic workflows for session acceptance beyond just a committee saying we want this one, this one, this one, and this one. This is for accepting feedback from the community, 5-star for internal staff votes, or you can even open up 5-star for the community and say, I really like this session, but I might want to do this one a little bit better. So that one gets a 5, or 4, this one gets a 5. You also have community voting, which is just a simple flag with the flag module. I will go to this session. I will go to this session. Did anyone use the website to flag what games you want to play tonight? Anybody? No? You bunch of not nerds that don't want to play games tonight. Anyway, it's the flag module, which is what we use, and it's an arbitrary flag. So user-generated BOF scheduler, that's the BOF module. That means that I, as an arbitrary user, can create my own. Was there a question?
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. It's on market.
Yeah, so I can create my own BOF and I can schedule it myself. It's like an online whiteboard version. So, if you have a small camp, put up a whiteboard. If you have a pretty big event that's spanning 4 days and you have 3 BOF rooms, it's a pretty good idea to set up your BOF thing ahead of time. So if sessions aren't submitted, people can still schedule some BOFs on their own. Great. Yeah. So let's see what's next. Scheduling. So there's one concept to understand here is the rooms and the times on a schedule are created separately. So we create all of our rooms, just a room name, and we do have a field for capacity. And here's the event, your groups, where you select what event this is for. And then the same thing for the time. Give it a date and a time, select the time zone, and then your event that it's going to go for. A time slot is what associates these 2 things together. So when you schedule items or sessions, you're scheduling to a time slot, which is one of these 2 things combined. An important thing to do is once you install COD, make sure you go to your regional date and time settings and set your regional date and time settings, or else it'll be in military time, UTC or something. Kind of important. Scheduling a session across multiple rooms and multiple times. So this is, scheduling a session or a schedule item. Maybe you have a training session that is in the same room all day. So you can just, these are all of our schedule items, you can just select and hold down Control or Shift and check all the items, all the rooms and time slots that this guy is supposed to be into all day. And it will appear under those places in the schedule. You can constrain when and where schedule items occur. This is primarily only useful when you're using Birds of a Feather online. When other people get to put things on the schedule, that's when you want to restrain or constrain what can go in each time slot. So when you see the time slot view in a second, you have the add or edit time slot, and here you can say, this is what's allowed inside this time slot. At 8 a.m. in the lobby, only schedule items are allowed in this time slot. It does help, even if you're not using BOFs, if you have a lot of rooms and time slots, doing this for all of them anyway, to clean up the editing screen for when you're actually scheduling your items. So there's not so many. One of the nice things about COD is an intuitive UI for admins to create a schedule. I copied and pasted this line from Jacob Perry's session on this because I don't know if we've quite reached intuitive UI yet, or at least intuitive. The point is, when you create a room and a time slot, those are your rooms across the top. Here are time slots, times down the bottom, and then where they intersect are your time slots. So this grid will automatically be created for you based off of your rooms and your times, and we have quick tabs for the different days. Now, out of the box, this grid is just going to have a whole bunch of add time slot. So this is the most tedious thing about scheduling. You have to go through each and every time slot and click add time slot and say, this can have a session, this can have a schedule item. I'm pretty sure there's an issue in the queue that says, make this default to, everything or sessions by default. So we don't have to do that and waste all of our time. So soon-ish, there's going to be a drag and drop scheduler, or there's going to be drag and drop scheduling. And the way that will work is on this page, in the sidebar, you'll have all of your approved sessions. You're going to grab one, bloop, drop it where it goes. That's it. You're done. Really, really cool. I say soonish because I started it in June at DrupalCon Austin, and then I got busy, and I'll get around to it eventually. If you want to help with that kind of thing, I could use it. All that's left, the prototype was actually pretty easy. It was less than 100 lines of JavaScript. What it really needs is some UX help. CSS, when I grab a session, the items that this session can't go in should gray out. Where it can go should turn light green. There should be red items if this person speaking is already speaking in a time slot on the same row. So stuff like that is what's preventing it from getting released. Just some UX, because right now it's extremely raw. And we can also display the schedule in multiple formats. So out of the box, we have HTML, but there's a lot of RESTfulness built into COD where you can get the schedule or the sessions or the speakers all in a JSON format. So if you have the resources to work on mobile apps or something like that, you can. Those views are already there, and we're building more as we go. So that is scheduling. Now the schedule display, after we have our sessions submitted, we've administrated them, we have this how do they display. So we have a responsive schedule, tabs for each day using the quick tabs module. And this is more or less what it looks like out of the box. You got tabs, each time group is broken up, and then each session tells you the name, who's doing it, and what room it's in. So this is from Drupal Camp Asheville. It's very simple. If you want to edit this view, you can. At the end of this session, we'll talk about how you can edit your views and content types and still maintain upgradability with the distro. And we have an add to my schedule, again with the flag module. Here's the speaker profile for this session from Derek's this morning. Bloop, you click add to my schedule. You now have a much smaller version of the schedule that only shows the stuff that you've added to your schedule. Any questions about any of that stuff so far? Okay. Sponsor administration. Sponsors is extremely straightforward. We have a sponsor dashboard, pending sponsors, approved sponsors, and the sponsor levels. I'm fairly certain that sponsor levels are also tied to the event. If it's not, that's something we're working on. Flexible sponsor types by taxonomy. And Commerce allows sponsors to buy their own sponsorship if you want to. You know, just set up a sponsor product so they can add it to the cart. And then I don't know if this rule exists already. We had a module for this in D6. We're probably working on it in D7, but it's a very simple rule. When I buy this product, we create a sponsor node for that person, put it in their name, make it unpublished until they fill it out and say, hey, let's publish it now. So very straightforward. We didn't do it in Asheville because we were too lazy to create the rule, but it's not that hard. And the sponsor information is used throughout the site. So on the home page, slideshows, our platinum sponsors, our gold sponsors, these sponsors. Very straightforward. So we have social user interaction. We have the community attendee page. Users can submit sessions. Users can submit BOFs. We had an issue with permissions early on because of organic groups, but all that's been taken care of. And it works really well with other third-party modules like Facebook and all that jazz. The front-end theme itself that you get when you install it out of the box is an Omega 4 theme. So unless you have a really nice theming resource or designer on your team, we highly suggest you just use the base theme and sub-theme off of that because there is a lot of special theming that goes into it for the responsive schedule and stuff like that. So for Asheville, we did have a fancy designer and dedicated themer on the project, so we did a bootstrap theme, but I did end up copying the CSS for the responsive theme and just dumping it in there for the schedule. This is fairly new. It just started kind of early this year, and they're definitely looking for more help on the theming side. The admin theme that we've been seeing mostly is the adminimal theme in the toolbar, and extend or override this theme instead of doing your own thing. So I got a bunch of demo videos here. What time is this session supposed to end?
Looks like you got 13 minutes left.
13 minutes. We're not going to go through all these videos. We'll sit on this screen and we'll talk a little bit more about COD. Where are we going to go from here? There's some critical issues in the queue that we're working on. And the great thing is we have a lot of momentum around COD at the moment. In Austin, we had an amazing sprint where we got a lot of stuff done and we got our beta out the door. Those people are still working on it now. Jacob Perry and his wife Emily actually just left their jobs at Aqua and Mongo to go work for the Drupal Association, where Emily is a designer and Jacob is a developer working on COD and Commons for the DA. So there's people putting a lot of work into this right now. MongoDB is still also putting a lot of work into it. I put a lot of work into it because I have clients that use it. It's great for nonprofits and any type of events type of thing. So we want to improve the administrative user experience a bit more. One of the big things is getting the completion of the drag and drop scheduler. That will be huge once we get that done. We need to do a permission and security review because we've just been actively throwing work at it. And once all that's done, we're aiming for a full release next year. Hopefully sooner than later. But a full release is going to look beautiful. It's going to have the gravy on it, the mashed potatoes. It's going to be fantastic.
Yo, will that be for Drupal 8?
No, this is all Drupal 7. Drupal 7. Hope no one thought I was talking about Drupal 8. That'd be sad.
I just mean because you said you'd release it next year. I'm hoping that I'm being optimistic, but I'm hoping Drupal 8 will be used more commonly next year.
Yeah, so one of the biggest problems is there's no e-commerce for Drupal 8, so we can't do paid events. So that's one thing. And also, Drupal 8's coming out next year, and we're in beta for Drupal 7. So, while this project didn't have a lot of momentum in the beginning, it does now. So the more effort we put into this in the Drupal 7 version, the easier it will be to get it ported to Drupal 8. But it is dependent on some pretty big modules like commerce or those other big entity guys, flag, stuff like that. Question? Oh, sorry. So something we didn't see, which is one of my demo videos, is installing COD. Go down to drupal.org/project/COD and download the distribution, and it installs just like any other Drupal site. During the installation, we get to see in fact, we got time. We can kind of poke at that one real quick, because this is one of the most important parts. So as I'm installing here, it installs just like anything else. First thing that's going to happen is it's going to install Drupal core stuff. So I'll hit save here. I'm going to burn through this. Let's go. Any questions while this is installing?
First of all, since it's still beta, do you think it's pretty much at a stable point where we can safely start developing for something that might be?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's first. And the other one is regarding the, for example, if you had exhibitors or sponsors, like out here, and we want to be able to map them or for that matter the classroom, is there any kind of module that we can implement in the map system? So here's our overhead floor plan, maybe take advantage of HTML accounts or whatever else, and drop in their location and say, okay, well, there they are. And in the event that they get moved, you change the room number and the map's updated. Is there anything like now?
So nothing like a fancy map where you hover over it, you see details and stuff. So I wanted to do that for Asheville, but I didn't have time. What I did have was
That would have been handy for Capital Camp.
yeah. I've only found one plugin that can do something like that.
Or even something better than Photoshop, just because it's kind of choppy.
I'll look at it at the end. I found it on, it's actually, hold on. I don't know my username. jQuery SVG floor plan. Nope, that's not it. Google something like that. I found a great one. The demo they had was like a mall, and it was beautiful. It was just an SVG you would import based off of the floor plan, and I wanted to use something like that to tie the data together, but that doesn't exist. Again, like a lot of answers in that edge case, it can probably be done pretty easily if somebody puts in the effort to pull it together. You need that probably SVG to whatever output. Drupal could probably output some of the SVG itself dynamically for that for the different rooms and stuff and the data and who's in it and who owns it type of thing. But no, I don't think anybody's done that yet. So one of the important things I wanted to show you is while you were installing Drupal or COD, Here it is. So here it lets you, once you've installed Drupal and you've configured your base site, here you set up your first event. And so we're going to set up Drupal Camp Asheville 2015, which is the best event in the world if you've never been. You know, Drupal Camp Asheville, North Carolina. Here's the most important thing I want to show you. We've abstracted out a lot of the features. So scheduling is in its own module. Sessions are in its own module. BOSS are in its own module. And the point is, if you're not going to have BOSS on your camp, don't check this box that says turn on this optional event feature. You know, if you've decided you really like COD for the scheduling, but you're going to use Eventbrite or some other brown bag tickets, whatever, for tickets, don't turn on registration over here, because you're just adding overhead. But to the developer's perspective, we have broken a decent amount of this stuff up, and I've tried to reference in my presentation how we're doing some of the stuff we're doing. So one of the questions earlier was, or before the session, I'm going to do like a trade show type thing. Maybe COD doesn't work for you. Maybe, you know, your base is going to be a CRM like CRM Core, but the ticket module can be what you use to add event registration. Because at the end of the day, the ticket module is just a field on an entity that they're registering to. And you can have different ticket types on an entity basis. Really cool. I like it. I get excited about it. That's why I'm here. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, no, I still think for the most part, what you presented seems like it'd be great for any kind of trade show or any kind of environment where you have a group gathering. If you can simply turn off sessions, if you're not going to have sessions, but you're just going to have booths, can you just use your sponsors portion of it and eliminate the sessions altogether? You're not really going to have those?
You don't even have to turn sessions on in the first place. Now, when I say we've abstracted everything out, COD is made up of two components. One is the modules themselves, which are all under Drupal.org projects COD support. All of the COD modules are in there, and we've separated out all the sub-modules. And then there's the actual distribution, which is Drupal.org/project/COD. Now, I've been experimenting, and in theory it works. You could probably start with CRM Core, Able Organizer, whatever, and then take the COD support suite of features and plop it down on top of an existing site. Now, I would install it to the side ahead of time so you can check the content type machine names and make sure there's not going to be any collision. But in theory, that should work just fine. And if you really want to know, well, what is going on when stuff is installing, well, mostly it's just turning these features on and it's setting the theme. But open up the COD install profile hook and see what it's doing. And you can replicate that as well. But all the core functionality of COD is in this module right here and all its submodules. Just like Commerce is this big suite, or UberCart is this big suite of modules. It's one thing you download and you can put on any site, or you can download the distributions and get it out of the box. Do you have a question? You sure? You look like you have a question. Okay, I'll let you off. Any more questions about COD? About creating an events site? This is not just about conferences. This can handle any type of event. Please get involved if you're looking for something to contribute to.
Tell me more about the ticketing.
The ticketing system.
Yeah, about your line item stuff.
We can take a look at that at the end if you want, because I think I'm running out of time. But the way it works is when you register, each ticket is its own line item.
So even if I buy 14 tickets?
14 line items, I think. We can double check it very easily. I'm lovable. So there is some items here that I did not include because I wasn't comfortable with them enough. This is Jacob Perry's slideshow, and it's actually a case study on how they did, what's it called? The Northeast Linux Fest. How do I make this bigger? Here it is. Allow. So if we look at his slides, they have this on-site check-in, which is a ticket display for fast check-in that integrates with the ticket module. There's also a RESTful or optional PDF printing of registrations for labels. Is that what you're asking? So there is an optional version of that. I've never used it. That's something they've developed that I haven't had time to review yet, so I wasn't comfortable saying this is exactly how you do it. I know what I've done many different types of things in the past. What we did for Asheville this year was just dumped CSV, imported into Word, and we had an Avery template, and that worked out really, really well. Our first year, we went all out. It did the CSV into InDesign and had a fancy printout of that. But yeah, you can export your data pretty well. It's just a view. If you need a custom one, you do for your tickets, and you'd have your ticket registrations that you can export, and you can pick which ones you want to export for the particular event. And his RESTful, so for their event, they had a volunteer. So they had JSON feeds for all these schedules and sessions, and they even had barcode scanning available to them. And I think, yeah. And this is one I don't have. This is us in Austin, I believe. And these are all the people that have been working on this project lately. So much Mac. That's not a Mac. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm the only one in the room. If you have any more questions, you can come grab me. We can boff about it. We can do whatever. I can show you the ticket stuff. All right. Skype me. You guys are taking off, leaving? All right. Thank you.